Just before we start with today's video, I just want to say that your boy, me, I just finished my first semester of film school for my first year and I'm so excited. And let me know, because I've been thinking about opening a vlog channel, personal channel. Let me know if you would like to see that channel, if you would like to see those videos, because obviously I cannot post every single thing that I do in my life on my horror channel. Today's video is gonna be so much fun because it's gonna be about answering questions that you asked me over my Instagram. I haven't read the questions, so since I posted the picture and the story, I didn't check the questions. So today is gonna be pure answer, and just bring a snack, have a drink, and just relax, and just welcome back to another video here on this channel, Royal Horror. Jungle of love. And the first question that I'm gonna answer is coming from my friend Alana, and it says, who is the hottest horror villain of all time? And this is hard because there's so many hot people out there playing horror roles, but I think I will say obviously Jennifer Sheck from Jennifer's Body. Is because Megan Fox is playing it and I love Megan Fox so much. And also I will say Kevin from Split, and it's because I love James McAvoy, so it's like the first time I saw Split, my jaw was on the floor because he looks so good on this film. And the next question is, what got you into horror movies and how did it all start? I don't have an exact answer of what got me into horror because obviously many things happened in my past and I don't remember all of them, but I think one of the memories that come to mind is that when I first watched Final Destination, the first one from 2000, I remember having so many emotions, and I remember telling myself that these kind of emotions, I don't experience them while watching an action, comedy or drama, but when I watched that movie, I felt so much things, and also I watched the sequel direct after and I felt many things as well. So I think what got me into horror is obviously Final Destination and just the different emotions that I could experience with this beautiful genre. So the next question is, what's the worst horror franchise? And this is a tricky question because it's not a secret, we all have different tastes and there's so many bad films out there. And you will think that I'm gonna say Child's Play, but it's not. It's not the worst horror franchise. I do not like it, but that's different. For me, the worst horror franchise will be the Wrong Turn franchise. And now, let me explain. I personally love the first Wrong Turn and the 2021 reboot. But apart from those films, they just don't make sense. I do not like them. And I do enjoy the second one, but obviously it's not a great film, and apart from that, that franchise goes downhill. Number 6 is basically a porn, and I just don't enjoy that franchise at all. I wouldn't recommend it. I just would recommend the first one and the reboot, but that's it. Next question is, do I enjoy watching horror water movies? And my answer is yes, I do love a great horror shark movie. For example, 47 Meters Down, Jaws, Piranha. I love those kind of movies, and even Crawl, even though I didn't like it too much, I think it's a fun ride, I guess, and it's one of my guilty pleasures, if that makes sense, even though I don't feel guilty for watching anything, but I do enjoy watching a great horror water movie. What? The next question is, how do you feel about the endless amounts of remakes that are coming out this year? And if you have watched one of my previous videos, I think remakes are fun, I think remakes are cool, especially if the remake is from a very old movie, for example House of Wax, for example 13 Ghosts, but at the same time I think once you make a remake from a movie that already has a remake, you should stop making those. For example, Texas Chainsaw, for example Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, those movies, they already have remakes, so they shouldn't do more remakes out of the movies or sequels and stuff, even though I love the new Halloween trilogy, but I just want to see new stuff, new horror villains. I do enjoy remakes, but I think they're not that necessary.
I said what I said.
It depends how old is the movie, to be honest. The next question is, what got you into horror and what was the first horror movie you ever watched? I already answered what got me into horror. And the first horror movie that I watched is Halloween Resurrection, and I'm gonna do a whole video on that movie because that movie traumatized me. I was like 6 or 7 years old and I couldn't sleep for like 3 months. Next question is, what new horror movie you actually loved? And if you mean by new horror movie, if you mean 2021, I will say two movies, and the most recent one, I literally watched this like yesterday, and that movie is a classic horror movie, the Italian horror movie from Netflix. I absolutely love that film. I didn't expect that movie to be that good. And the second movie will be Wrong Turn 2021. For me, it's one of the best horror movies out of this year, at least top 5. You will see that on my ranking. But yeah, those movies, they really shocked me because I didn't expect them to be that good. My great friend Video Crypts, he asked, what's a film that you would love to see done with an all opposite sex cast? It's not like I will change the cast in general, but I would love to see more LGBT characters in normal storylines in horror. For example, let's say a stranger's storyline with a lesbian couple, with a gay couple. That would be amazing. And like different storylines just with LGBT characters, that would be iconic. The next question is, what's a horror movie that left an impression, good or bad? Now, a horror movie that left a bad impression, I think that would be Hostel from 2005. Because to be honest, I thought I was gonna like the movie because I don't mind gore, but I personally didn't like it. I found it very annoying, and I just didn't. I don't see myself rewatching it. And also a good impression when it comes to a horror movie, I think it will be Black Swan, and it's because I watched this movie for like the second time in a while, a few months ago, and that movie is amazing. That movie is so good, and it left me a good impression because I felt so uncomfortable in a good way. And I love when horror movies make me feel that way, and I will always think about Black Swan when it comes to like a good impression. The next question is, what movies scared you the crap out of you? And this is easy. The first one will be Halloween Resurrection. You will know in my upcoming video. Another movie that scared the crap out of me, I remember it was Final Destination 3 when I was a kid, because obviously I used to love going into roller coasters, and I always thought about that film. And also, again, Final Destination 5, because at the Olivia's scene, I remember, because obviously I wear glasses ever since I was like 9, so I do remember every time that I used to go to the optician, I always used to think about Olivia, so that moment really scared me when I was a kid. And also I will say Yu-Hon, the original, and I've talked about this film so many times, and it's because it's one of the scariest films I've ever seen in my life. And also I will say Wreck, the found footage, because I remember watching this for the first time like when I was around my early teens, and that movie really scared me. The next question is, if you could have a masterclass from a film director, who will it be and why? And this question is so hard because I would love to have like a talk with like Wes Craven, with John Carpenter, you know, the classic directors that we love. But I don't know if this is quite unpopular, but I would love to have a talk with M. Night, because I love watching his interviews, and every time he says that he was like kind of like different when he was a kid, and he always felt left out. I honestly felt that way when I was a kid, and sometimes I feel that way right now. So it's quite inspiring because his stories are so original, and even though they're quite controversial, I really admire that he's not scared to try new things, even though they might fail. And I really admire that from a director, because his movies are always different one from the other, and I think that's impressive, and I would love to know how does he do that. And yes, I would love to do that, and especially now that I'm a film student, I would love to talk to this legend. The next question comes from my great friend Mason, and it says, what's your horror movie hot take? And this is gonna be controversial, and I think you know which one it is. And for me, the Child's Play franchise is boring as hell. Don't come at me. I do not enjoy that franchise at all.
I said what I said. It ain't changing no.
Next question is, what's your favorite death scene ever? And if I have to choose one, this is gonna be so hard because I love many in every single movie. But I think my favorite of all time in horror is Ashlyn from Final Destination 3. And you are seeing the pattern right here. You see that I'm mentioning Final Destination 3 so much, but is that a secret? Why? I love this death scene so much because it builds the tension so well. It's kind of scary because it can actually happen to you. And the practical effects, they were so good. And yes, I will always love this death. And for me, it's my favorite death scene of all time in horror. The next question is there any themes or subgenres with horror you think are overdone now? And yes, and my answer is comedy horror. Please stop making comedy horror. It is annoying. My great friend Leanne, she's asking, if you remake a horror movie that hasn't already been remade, what will it be? Oh my god, this question, this is so hard because it's like, like I'm trying to think about different horror films that I would love to remake. I think two movies come to mind, and the first one will be Valentine from 2000. I think it's because it will be so much fun to see this concept made in a modern era. And the second movie, I don't know if it's true that a remake is already being made or it's in the process. That will be Cube from 1997. I love the first Cube. I haven't watched the rest, but I do love the first one. I think it's because it's so simple, but it's so effective. And I think now with all the technology that we have, I think I would love to see that, even though Escape Room is kind of similar, but Escape Room is obviously more action than horror. Alright, so the next question comes from Lauren, and it says, super excited for this video, thank you. If you could be any horror villain, who will it be? Oh my god, this question is so funny because I would love to be many horror villains. But I think I would love to be, let's say, Pennywise, because that means I will be able to scare people I don't like. And that means I will be like their worst fear. So I think it will be funny to scare people I don't like, and it'd be like, you're not that strong as you think you are.
First off, who are you?
I don't know, like kind of revenge, if that makes sense. The next question is there any horror movie that you refuse to watch? I'm planning to make a video of movies that I don't really want to watch. But answering this question, I think that will be The Human Centipede, because I just don't want to see that. I know the first movie, it's kind of shocking because it's so new, the concept is so new. But I don't really want to sit through an hour and 40 minutes seeing that, and especially the whole trilogy, because I think it's a trilogy. I do not want to watch those films, and I've heard horrendous things about the third one, so I don't really think I'm going to watch those films ever. Alright, Haunted Hippie asks, worst and best tropes, and this is such an original question, so thank you. And I think the worst trope in horror, it's not that it's the worst, but it's my least favorite, if that makes sense. And this is gonna be maybe quite controversial, but I don't personally like every single horror film having a survivor.
You're done.
Having like the victim that survives the whole movie. I personally don't like watching that in every single horror film. Sometimes I like to see the villain winning. And for me, one of the best tropes in horror, it will be the chase scenes. I love chase scenes. I think that chase scenes help to the victim and they help the villain, because one of my favorite chase scenes of all time, they come from like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course. What I love about chase scenes is that they don't really have to happen always on slashers. They can happen in any subgenre in horror. For example, Lorraine Warren, she has had chase scenes, and I love that. The next question will be, what has been your favorite horror movie of 2021? And I think I would already say that Wrong Turn is one of my favorites from this year, but I would also say Last Night in Soho. I absolutely love that film. I also loved Candyman, the sequel. I also loved A Quiet Place 2, The Conjuring 3. There are so many films that I love. The next question will be, what are some of your favorite underrated horror films? And oh my god, I love talking about underrated horror films, and that will be a whole list. We will be here the whole day talking about underrated horror films, but some that come to mind will be The Collector from 2009. I think that slasher is so iconic. I would also think The Orphanage, the Spanish film, Relic from last year. Like, why is nobody talking about that film? That film is so iconic, it's so unique, it's so different, I love it. Next question comes from my great friend Grace, and I already answered the first two, as you can see. And the third one says, what is a villain combo that you would like to see? For example, Freddy vs. Jason. And there are so many things that I would love to see in a battle when it comes to horror villains. But I think I would say Red Family from Us versus the Strangers family. I think that would be iconic. I love those villains so much. So I think it will be so fun to see them battling, I guess. I'm almost finishing this video. The next question will be, if you could live out in a horror movie, what will it be and why? And hands down, I would love to be part of a Final Destination movie. hands down. If you could only watch one horror movie for the rest of your life, what would it be? And you will see the pattern. But those two movies will be, the first one will be Final Destination 3. I love that movie so much. It's in my top 5 horror movies of all time. And also Friday the 13th, the remake, is my favorite horror movie of all time for so many reasons, and I would love to watch that movie every single day. Is there any slasher where you actually root for the characters instead of the killer? And my answer is yes. And that will be Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning from 2006. If you know the ending of this movie, you will know why I'm selected this film. I love Leatherface, and in this movie, he's like, for me, it's the best version of Leatherface. But I just love the characters in this film so much. They did not deserve what happened to them. I felt so bad, and I loved them. I loved them so much. I love that it's that only 4 people, because that's like, it feels more realistic. It's like it's an actual group of friends. And the next question comes from my best friend, and she asked, out of all the Conjurer films, which one it will be your favorite and why? I already did a video talking about the Conjuring films, like ranking them, but since the Conjuring 3 has come out, that ranking has changed. But obviously the Conjuring 2, it will always be my favorite Conjuring movie until date out of the whole franchise. It's so iconic. I watched it for the first time at the cinemas. This is a movie that my best friend and me would share because we watched it for her first time and it was iconic. She really liked it. So yeah, that was it. That was the horror Q&A, and obviously I'm sure once I edit these and once I post these, I will be like, what are you?
An idiot sandwich.
So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, you know what to do, and don't forget to follow me on my social media. I love interacting with you on over my stories or my posts. I love doing edits, and yes, just have a nice end of the week, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.